Welcome back to Women of Color TV. And we are so excited. We are here with Michelle L. Zyblut,
Zbylut.
Zbylut, doctor, who is a senior advisor to the Secretary of the Army for Diversity and Inclusion, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army Equity and Inclusion Agency, and Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army Manpower and Reserve Affairs, Washington, D.C. She assumed these duties as a senior advisor to the Secretary of the Army for Diversity and Inclusion and on 24 September 23. She serves as the Army's design proponent for diversity and inclusion, civil rights, equal employment opportunity, military equal opportunity, and Army command policy and program oversight. She oversees the daily operation and execution of the most comprehensive EEO compliance and complaints adjudication process within the federal government. From May 8th to 9th of September 23, she completed a detail as the acting Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army Research and Technology within the Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology. In this role, she provided strategic direction and fiscal oversight of the Army science and technology portfolio for all Army laboratories and research development and engineering centers. She was appointed to senior executive service in April 2018 as the Director of U.S. Army Research and Technology for the Behavioral and Social Sciences and Chief Psychologist of the United States Army. As the lead scientific laboratory for the Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff, G1AR1 conducted behavioral and social science research to enable the Army to acquire, develop, employ, and retain professional soldiers and enhance personal readiness. She directed and provided oversight. Oh dear. Oh no, as the paper keeps falling. Oversight activity for ARI's Science and Technology Program and Business Operations at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, Fort Moore in Georgia, Fort Leavenworth in Kansas, Fort Cavazos in Texas, Fort Eustis in Virginia, and was the ARI's first senior research scientist, system science, human science, which is a senior level scientific and professional position, ST. As ST, she served as a recognized scientific authority, consultant, and advisor to the prior director of ARI and other Army leaders in matters related to the behavioral and social sciences. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this is really an exciting time for you to be in this position. How did you prepare yourself for this?
So I wouldn't say that I prepared. I
Okay.
never envisioned myself headed down this path, but I think all of my experiences prepared me and brought me to this space. So if you think about industrial organizational psychology, I'm an industrial organizational psychologist. It's really about looking at how you find talent, how you bring talent into your organization, how you develop that talent over the course of a career. I spent many years doing that. It's my passion. And so then coming up through the system and serving really at every level that you could as a civilian employee, to me, I think the next step is how do we bring it to everyone in America and bring that back into a call to service?
And the call to service is really critical because we need to make certain that our nation is safe. But we also need to make certain that we have leaders who have the capacity and the bandwidth to understand what is necessary. What brought you to this place?
So I think, throughout time, when I started off, I never envisioned that I'd ever be in any position like this. I'm a small town girl. I came up through, basically grad school in Texas, and then 9/11 happened. And around that time, me and many of my fellow graduate students, we ended up in the federal government because for me, I thought, well, this is what I have to offer. This is what I have to offer my country. I'm not especially athletic, but I'm smart.
Yeah.
maybe I can do something. And doing research was really all that I wanted to do. But, as I continued to grow, I just saw the need. And every time I saw a need and I could envision, maybe I could do something there. Maybe I have learned something that I can do there, do in that position. I just took the opportunity and I stretched myself. I learned to stretch myself too.
That's a very interesting term, stretched yourself. What does that entail when you stretch?
Discomfort, discomfort, anxiety sometimes. But I think, if you're trying to grow, growth is always a painful process. If you're an athlete and you wanted to improve yourself, your muscles are sore, So I think when you stretch yourself, it's really about putting yourself outside your comfort zone. And I wasn't inclined to do that. But one time I was in a situation where I found myself basically taking over duties that I had never really envisioned. So I was a psychologist. I took over an office in programs, budget, and strategies, and the budget officers left the organization. So I was there to figure out the budget and close out the fiscal year as a psychologist, and that's the first time I felt truly in my life, oh my God, I'm going to fail. And it was a horrible, horrible feeling. But what I learned from that was if you show leadership, that you have a team around you who will help you succeed, and that you have relationships outside of your organization and you can partner with them and they will help you succeed because everybody wants to succeed. And from that, I learned, well, I can do a lot more than what I ever imagined. And thank God for all of us that, we were able to figure it out. And we didn't fail. That's the thing.
Right.
We didn't fail. I thought it would fail, but we didn't fail because we had a team of people. And that experience was really pivotal. And I learned from that, if you really want to grow and develop, you have to do something a little bit outside your area of expertise. And it is scary, but it's worth it. And after you get used to doing it, you understand that you can be comfortable with the discomfort because you'll pass through it.
Well, and I think it's just seeing what is and swallowing it
Yes.
and saying, I'm going to do this now,
Right.
regardless, right? And look at you now. So when you look at all of this, what does this success mean to you? And this is a successful moment for you.
It is, but I don't really. A lot of people ask me that, and I don't really think of success as you've achieved this position or you've got this amount of money or any of these trappings of status or success. To me, it's about living your purpose and living according to who you are. And I believe everybody has a mission in life. So
Right.
so we belong to organizations that hopefully align with our purpose. But if you can feel that mission and that purpose in your life, and I wake up every day and I think about, here's what I came to do. Here's why I was put on this planet. If you have that and you can live in accordance with that, that is success.
Right.
To me.
That's right. That's right. And as the leader, you want to be able to have some wins. You don't
Oh, for sure, for sure. I do not like to lose.
at all.
Yes.
So, what are some of your most vivid memories of school or your childhood?
So there are a lot of things. So, well, one good memory was I used to cook a lot with my dad when I was younger. My mom was a waitress, so on Sundays, and this is probably going to date me a little bit. On Sundays, my dad and I would cook, and then we would watch kung fu theater. And that was a fond memory for me. And today, now I have cooking as a hobby, and I realize how influential that was. I was also bullied in elementary school too, and it was probably not as bad as what kids are exposed to today with the online, online bullying. But I think in some ways it was good for me because it taught me compassion as a younger person, because I could see then when I went out and I got older, I do not like people to be bullied. I always feel like I want to be there for the person who is in a less powerful position. And I think that too has brought me to where I am today, is that justice, fairness, treating people right really matters.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And something I think that's also really important here is that you are involved in the diversity, inclusion, and equity department. And so when we look at DEI now, and here it is 2023, and we're still having this conversation, but how does that function in your world? How do you manage that program within your department?
So I think when we look at our organization, we say diversity is the force, equity is the goal, inclusion is the way. I wish
I like that. Can you say that one more time?
Diversity is the force, equity is the goal, and inclusion is the way. And our organization and the broader Army too, because we're just actually tiny, and then the Army is massive. But you think about EEO being the bedrock, really. It lays the laws, there's regulations, and it really sets the stage for ensuring that people are held accountable, that there are fair processes, that there is opportunity. But it is insufficient. It is definitely, it's not the only thing. It is a necessary condition, but is not a sufficient condition. And so when you look at what else you need to have in place, it's the social fabric, it's leadership, it's culture, it's all of the things that create inclusivity. Because if you have diversity is not enough.
Right.
You have to bring it all together to reap the benefits of that. And so there's leadership that you have to inculcate and develop within your organization. When I say organization, I mean across the Army,
Correct.
military and civilians
Correct.
alike. Climate plays a huge role. Culture, inculcating a culture that will support the behaviors that treat not just respectful behavior, how we treat one another is important, but creating real outcomes where people can fairly compete and move forward in the system. And that's what our organization does. It provides policy, governance, and oversight that then promulgates throughout the Army.
So the oversight, as you watch all of the different divisions, because there's so many different departments within the departments within the departments.
It's massive.
It's massive,
It's massive.
right? And so as you look at the building blocks of that whole department, there are a lot of issues that surround them with this DEI. How do you manage and juggle all of those different entities that have a requirement to have outcomes that you're looking for at the end of that particular quarter or the end of that year?
So it's a work in progress, I will say. We have not perfected it, but it's something that you always have to work on. I think it starts with being able to see yourself as an organization. I'm obviously a fan of data.
Okay.
So, I think it's starting with looking at the statistics, the analyses, seeing where promotions lie or don't lie, looking at the barriers and the obstacles. And I think the thing that we are trying to do better is also looking at kind of return on investment of policies, programs, initiatives, because some things will work better than others. So we want to invest in those things that are really going to have payoff, so that we're not doing 1,000 different things, but doing a multitude of things that really get after true meaningful change.
And you're honing in into those particular areas.
Right.
And so when you are looking at the end of your quarter or the end of your year, however that's set up, and you have your benchmarks, right? And how do you benchmark diversity, equity, and inclusion.
So that's still a conversation that's being had, you know. But I think I think there's room for improvement. So
Yes.
how you describe the benchmark, I think, is a little bit more challenging. I think you also have to look at, in addition to the quantitative pieces, how do people in the organization feel? What is the pulse?
Mm-hmm.
Do people feel good about what's going on? Are people attracted to your organization? That's the other thing. You can't just look internally, you have to look externally so that you get a different vantage point of yourselves. Because again, you can't always see yourself.
Right.
So, are we bringing in the people that we want to bring in?
Mhm.
Are we attracting
Mm-hmm.
those to create this more diverse workforce? If you can't get those people in because they don't see themselves in you, then
Right.
you've lost the talent war, to be blunt.
But from just this brief moment with you, I think that circle's going to make a difference, and you are touching in all the areas that need to be required. So I wish I had more time with you. So we're going to have to set up another appointment because I love talking to you and what you're doing. I'm really excited for you. Michelle Zbylut, and she is the senior advisor to the Secretary of the Army for Diversity and Inclusion, and the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army, and the Office of the Assistant Secretary of the United States Army. Thank you, ma'am, and congratulations on your position. And I wish you continued success. And hopefully, you'll come back and we'll see you at Women of Color next year.
Yes, and I will have a year under my belt at
Oh,
that point.
so do we have part 2?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll
outstanding.
tell you how it went.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.